Hi YouTube, it's Mama Dodon, and this is the very last video in my series on vaginismus, where I talk about chronic pain during sex. If you haven't seen my other videos on this topic, I will leave a link in the description box below that kind of overviews all of it. But today we're talking about specifically my experience being pregnant and giving birth with vaginismus. I am making this specific video today to give women who are experiencing vaginismus hope. I know there are a lot of women who can't even begin to experience sex right now, let alone hope to be pregnant or get impregnated with vaginismus. And I want to share my experience of getting pregnant, being pregnant, and giving birth while having vaginismus. It took me about 3.5 years from the point that I began having sex that was extremely painful to getting to a point where I could have sex and it could get to a rhythm and both of us could orgasm, which would then lead to me getting pregnant. So it took 3.5 years for me to actually get to a point where I could get impregnated while having sex. But once I reached that point, obviously I got pregnant, and that's kind of where the story is going to start today. I wasn't healed from my vaginismus when I did get pregnant. Sex was still sometimes very painful. It was usually painful when he started penetrating me. We had to go really slow at the start, and it was often very painful when we were finished because my body was still really tight and it was kind of experiencing the post sensation of, you know, once the orgasm had weared off and the pain started to kick in. Needless to say, I was able to get pregnant, and I had never even been to a gynecologist prior to getting pregnant. But I attended my first gynecologist. She had never even heard of vaginismus, but she acknowledged that it is something that could occur and really worked with me. She actually didn't even perform a pap smear at that time because she knew how truly nervous I was, so she just kind of let me be. I was in my first trimester. She did the basic checkups that she could, made sure everything was looking decent down there, and of course my baby had a good heartbeat, and then she let me go on my merry way. When I went to see my second gynecologist later on in my pregnancy, I would have to do pap smears and have her insert tools and her fingers into me every single visit. But she knew that I had vaginismus. She acknowledged that it was an actual thing that she had heard of. She just had never had a patient who admitted to having it before. So she went really slow. She counted with me every single time she inserted anything. She would count to 10. She had another nurse in there to kind of hold my hand and make sure that I was comfortable with everything. And of course, if anything got too painful, she would stop. But she was so gentle and so nice with me that it never really got too painful. I had 2 gynecologists who are very patient with me, and if you do have this condition, I recommend finding a doctor that understands your needs and is willing to work through them. If your one doctor isn't working, find another one. That's the great thing about doctors, is you don't have to stick with one your entire life. You can find one that really works for you. I can talk about labor with vaginismus. I've always had extremely painful period cramps, and I have a very low pain tolerance when it comes to just vaginal contractions in general. You do get minor contractions when you're going through your period and you're pushing out, you know, all that discharge. But of course, labor contractions are much more intense than that. And labor was at the beginning not very painful for me. Up until around 5 centimeters, it was pretty bearable. It felt like period cramps, which were painful, but not like debilitating. After 5 centimeters, things got super painful. My daughter's heartbeat was struggling to stay regular, which really didn't help because I couldn't move through the contractions. I had to stay completely still. It was awful. It was an awful experience. I ended up having an emergency C-section, but I don't think the vaginismus affected my contractions or just the pain I was experiencing during sex at all. And actually, the contractions were so intense that, like, when nurses were coming in and checking everything and sticking their fingers in me and tools in me and all that glorious stuff, it didn't even affect me at all because the contractions were so much more painful than anything in my vagina was. I do know a really big problem for me, and something that the nurses could not get me to do, was to just stay really calm and really relaxed and breathe through my contractions. And I do wonder if my vaginismus played a role in that, because it's very hard and it takes a lot of concentration for me to fully relax my pelvic floor muscles. And obviously during contractions, your pelvic floor muscles aren't relaxed anyways, but then after contractions, it was really hard for me to let go of that tensed up pressure. And I wonder if that's because my vaginismus and just my body always naturally being so tight down there that it was hard for me to relax and really truly get a break between contractions. If you have vaginismus and you're pregnant or going to give birth, I hate to even do this because I realize so many people want a natural birth. I did. But get an epidural. I ended up having an epidural like very shortly before my C-section, and it made everything 1,000 times easier. I was able to relax. I was able to just feel okay and quit crying during my birth experience. So if you do have vaginismus, just be open to the idea of an epidural. I think it could help you, and if nothing else, just really give you a break between those intense contractions, because if your body's naturally tight and it's not letting go of that pressure, it may make the contractions even worse. But now let's move on to postpartum. Postpartum, my body had gone through intense contractions, intense tensing up down there, and it actually, for some crazy reason, made sex easier. Pregnancy and birth actually helped heal my vaginismus even more. I noticed I got lubricated easier and I was just more relaxed. I know during pregnancy and after pregnancy, your hormones are just different. You're a different person after pregnancy than you were before. Like my voice changed, my feet grew, like so many things just change in your body. So it's natural that my vagina would change as well. It gets lubricated easier. It's stimulated differently. I would say my clitoris is a little less like able to be stimulated, but my actual vagina is just much more relaxed and less tense in general. Don't get me wrong, I will still have times where sex is sometimes painful. I'll have little triggers come up. I won't be completely in the mood, and those kinds of things can absolutely affect it and make sex painful for me. But those times are way less frequent than they used to be. And as I've grown, as I've just matured as a woman, sex is much different than it used to be. Sex now for me is about meeting my needs and just enjoying the experience in general. When I was younger, sex used to be about pleasing my partner. I never felt good enough for my partner because of my vaginismus. You know, I was unable to relax because I was always so focused on my partner, and I was never really focused on myself. Now that I'm older, I've grown, just my attitude on sex has grown, and my comfort in the bedroom has grown. My own pleasure comes first, then my partner. That's not to say that I don't care about my partner. I absolutely care about my partner, and a ton of my energy goes into making sure that my partner is enjoying the experience. But my first priority is always that I am not in pain, that I am comfortable, that I am relaxed, that I'm enjoying what I'm doing with my partner. Because once I get to that point, then I can truly focus on my partner and make sure they're enjoying it too. But if I'm in pain, neither of those things are truly happening. If you're forfeiting your own pleasure, your own ability to enjoy the experience to make sure that your partner is being able to come, then you're not really having sex. You're giving sex to someone else. You're giving it at the expense of your own ability to enjoy it, or to just fully make sure they enjoy it. Because I can tell you for sure, once you're enjoying the experience, they're gonna enjoy it even more too. Because you're both gonna have so much energy, you're gonna be more relaxed, you're gonna be able to truly click with that person in a way that you couldn't when you were focused on just them and not yourself. Sex should not be just about your partner. It should be about your comfort and your needs as well. And if there's one thing that I can hope that you can take away from this video and my entire series in general, is that your comfort in the bedroom is important. Your ability to enjoy sex is important. You are entitled to pain-free sex and a partner that can help you do that. And most importantly, you're entitled to worry about your ability to have pain-free sex, to put in the effort to that, to let go of the things that are preventing you from doing that. Sex should be an enjoyable and fun and relaxing and romantic experience. It shouldn't be stressful. It shouldn't cause guilt or shame or insecurity. And don't get me wrong, so many women experience those last few things that I just noted. So many women experience the negative sides of sex, and they don't know how to talk about them or open up about them or acknowledge them in general. They feel ashamed of them. They feel like less of a sexual partner. They feel like less of a woman because of the pain. But in order to overcome the pain, you do kind of have to tackle it head on. and you have to acknowledge that it's happening, and you have to work within yourself and with your partner to get to a place where sex can be comfortable and enjoyable. You deserve that. So if you could take away anything from this series, anything on vaginismus as a whole, whether you are a man or a woman, what I want you to take away is that sex should be completely enjoyable for both sides. It should be comfortable and consensual and fun and just pain-free. And that is where I'm going to leave you on this series of vaginismus. Thank you so much for joining me in these videos, for tagging along as I discuss this quite risque topic for my channel. I am a single mom channel. Everything on this channel is centered around my single mom life. But a part of single mom life and just mom life in general is female sex ed and sex health. And that's what I wanted to address in this series, to open up about something that a lot of women struggle with and just don't know how to talk about, to open up about it for my daughter so she can know all of the important things that I've shared in this, and to open up about it for other women and other moms who may be experiencing something like this, to help them know that it's normal, it's natural, and there is hope. If you're interested in watching all of my other videos on single mom life, I would love to have you tag along on this channel. And if not, thank you for just joining me on this little vaginismus series. I'm glad that I could open up to you, and I hope that in some way I helped you. As always, thank you so much for watching. I'll see you in the next one.